Hello everyone, I am Mrs. Moini Valke and I heartily welcome you to all in our class Social Success Point. Dear students, we are studying the first chapter of class 9 politics, that is what is democracy and why democracy. In our last video, we have studied the first topic, that was what is democracy. And now today we are going to start the second topic of this chapter, that is features of democracy. Dear students, we have started with a simple definition that democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. Okay, this definition raises so many questions. Okay, as like who are the rulers in this definition? Then, what kind of election constitutes a democratic election? या फिर who are the people who can elect the rulers or get elected as rulers? Or finally, what kind of form of government is democracy? Okay, so let us consider each of these questions with the help of some examples. So first of all, we will see the first example, major decisions by elected leaders. Now I am going to start a story of Pakistan. Okay, so in Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf led a military coup in October 1999. He overthrew a democratically elected government and declared himself the chief executive of the country. Later, he changed his designation to president and in 2002 held a referendum in the country that guaranteed him a 5-year extension. Pakistani media, human rights organizations and democracy activists said that the referendum was based on malpractices and fraud. In August 2002, he issued a legal framework order that amended the Constitution of Pakistan. According to this order, the President can dismiss the national and provinces assemblies. The work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by a National Security Council, which is dominated by military officers. It means the power to take final decision rested with army officials and with General Musharraf, and none of them were elected by the people. Okay, so finally, people may have elected their representatives to the national and the provisional assemblies, but those elected representatives were not really the rulers. Okay, so it is said dictatorship or monarchy system. So these gives the first feature of democracy, that in a democracy the final decision making power must rest with those elected by the people. Okay, now we will see the second feature of democracy, that is free and fair electoral competition. Here once again I am going to tell a story, so please listen carefully. In China, elections are regularly held after every 5 years for electing the country's parliament, which is called Quanguo Renmin Dabiao Dahui. Okay, it is the name of the parliament. Okay, the National People's Congress has the power to appoint the president of the country. It has nearly 3,000 members elected from all over China. Some members are elected by the army. Okay, some members are elected by the army. Before contesting elections, a candidate needs the approval of the Chinese Communist Party. Once again I am repeating, before contesting election, a candidate needs the approval of the Chinese Communist Party. Only those who are members of the Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest election held in 2002-3. The government is always formed by the Communist Party. Okay, the government is always formed by the Communist Party. This gives us the second feature of democracy, that a democracy must be based on a free and fair election where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. Okay. Now we will see the third feature of democracy, that is one person, one vote and one value. Okay. Dear students, there are so many instances of denial of equal right to vote. As like until 2015 in Saudi Arabia, women did not have the right to vote, and Estonia has made its citizenship rules in such a way that people belonging to Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. And in Fiji, the electoral system is such that the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fijian. Okay, means democracy is based on a fundamental principle of political equality. So, this one gives us the third feature of democracy, that in a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. Okay. Now we will discuss upon the fourth feature of democracy, that is rule of law and respect for rights. Okay. For understanding this feature, we will take an example of Zimbabwe. Okay. Zimbabwe attained independence from white minority rule in 1980. Okay. Since then, the country has been ruled by ZANU PF. Okay. The party that led the freedom struggle, its leader Robert Mugabe, ruled the country since independence. Elections were held regularly and always won by ZANU PF. Okay. President Mugabe was popular but also used unfair practices in elections. Over the years, his government changed the constitution several times to increase the powers of the president and make him less accountable. Opposition party workers were harassed and their meeting disrupted. Public protest and demonstrations against the government were declared illegal. There was a law that limited the right to criticize the president. Television and radio were controlled by the government and gave only the ruling party's version. There were independent newspapers, but the government harassed those journalists who went against it. The government ignored some court judgments that went against it and pressurized judges. He was forced out of office in 2017. So my dear student, this was the example of Zimbabwe, which shows that popular approval of the rulers is necessary in a democracy, but it is not sufficient. Popular governments can be undemocratic. Popular leaders can be autocratic. Okay, so this example shows that a democratic government rules within limits set by constitutional law and citizen rights. Now, once again, we will see the summary definition of democracy, that democracy is a form of government. Okay, once again, I am repeating, democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. Okay, so once again we will revise the features of democracy. The first feature is, in a democracy, the final decision making power must rest with those elected by the people. It means major decisions by elected leaders. Second feature, in a democracy must be based on a free and fair election where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. It means free and fair electoral competition. Now, third feature is, in a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. It means one person, one vote and one value. Now, fourth feature of democracy is, a democratic government rules within limits set by constitutional law and citizens' rights. Okay, so here we have finished our topic, the feature of democracy. I hope now you understood the feature of democracy. Okay, now this is enough for today, and in our next video we will discuss upon why democracy and the broader meaning of democracy. Okay, so thank you and have a nice day.